go ahead and take this product. But so yeah, so women, you know, they're losing collagen, or we all are losing collagen at some degree after the age of 25. At some point, it just depends on our genetics and that kind of feedback. But what would be the main factor for someone trying to heal from an injury? Because that's where I take it. I take it for all my soft tissue injuries that I've sustained throughout my 33 years of life. And a lot of people, I think, take that, but they don't understand why they're taking or what types of collagen actually are mitigating those changes.
Yep.
So can you go into that a little bit?
Yeah, so that's actually a really good question, and that kind of dives into some of the confusion that I see with collagen. So we have all these different types on the market. We have type 1, we have type 2, we have some products that have 3, 5, 9, 12, 13. So there's 28 different types of collagen proteins in our body, and they all serve a slightly different function. The two, 90% of total collagen protein in the body are type 1 and type 2. And the reason why that's so important, so when we think about injury, we think of types of collagen, type 1 and type 2 are designed in a way, they're made in a way by our body to endure tensile stresses and forces, so they don't tear apart and they don't shear apart. So if we think about structures in our knee, we think about meniscus, we think about cartilage, we think about ligaments, tendons, really strong things that resist force when you make a cut on the basketball court or football field at full speed, or you're, going up for a rebound, or, you're enduring, hundreds of pounds of force on those connective tissues, and they're not ripping apart. So type 1 and type 2 are very, very strong, and they can resist forces in many different directions. So you talk about compressive forces, straight down compression, and our body's ability to not only absorb that compression, but then rebound and decompress. And then if you think about,
like a rubber band, right?
Rubber band, yeah. And that's actually a great description of collagen. And, a lot of times, we describe connective tissue as like a rubber band, the resilience of that tissue to absorb a force and then, actually repel and rebound from that force. And that's kind of the definition of resilience. So, yep, rubber band is great.
So type 1.
Yes.
So hair, skin, nails, tendons,
yep,
ligaments,
yep,
right?
Yep.
But why do I always see products with type 1 and 3, Frank? I already know the answer, but I want you to explain. So why do people do type 1 and 3, but not types 1 and 2?
Yeah, so I would say the biggest reason why people do 1 and 3 is because it's more of a marketing claim than an actual scientific claim. So there are products, and here's the thing that I want to say is there hasn't been clinical studies on type 3 collagen, not to my knowledge. So if there are, please send those my way. I'd love to read them. But I haven't found any clinical studies done on type 3 collagen. If we look at where type 3 collagen is located in our body, number one, it has a different structural formulation or structural design, if you will. So type 1 is very densely wound and connected. If we looked at a tendon under a microscope, we would see no spaces between those collagen fibers. They're very tightly woven together. If we contrast that with type 3 fibers, it's what's called a reticular fiber. So it's spaced out. It's almost like a net. There's open gaps between fibers. The purpose of type 3 in our body is not to absorb force. It's not designed to absorb force and disperse that force. It will actually tear if it does, if it encounters force.
Wow. So is it more of a scar type cartilage? Would you say that?
So yep. I mean, it does
more of a fibro cartilage, more like, 'cause I know we're born with hyaline.
Yep.
And as we age or as we injury, our body will then lay down scar tissue, right? And some of that scar tissue is, my understanding, more type 3, more fibro cartilaginous. I can't say that word, but so it's more of a weaker collagen. It's not as resilient. If you do get injured, it's not going to bounce back as easy as that more buoyant, more resilient type hyaline cartilage, which is type 1.
Correct.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, so reticular fiber, when there is an injury in a ligament or a tendon and there's regeneration, so our body goes through, acute injury, inflammation, then it goes to subacute phase, which is regeneration and remodeling. If we took a look at that regeneration, kind of that phase 2 of healing that we all kind of ignore because there's not always pain associated with that, what we find is that fibroblasts begin to fill in that damaged area with type 3 collagen, and it loses that elasticity, like you said. It doesn't have the same characteristics as that type 1 originally did. And that's just the way it goes, and that's the way that the body kind of welds that wounded area back together. So it's connected, but it's never going to have those physical characteristics and that rebound and that elasticity that it initially did, unfortunately.
That makes sense. And I know from my experience when I was, previously treating patients is it just seemed like the patients that were over 30, and I actually witnessed, it was like a freak deal. We were playing basketball. I had a bunch of my buddies. We're all over 30. And people are snapping their Achilles, right? Because their collagen now is not as resilient. We haven't stretched. We've been inactive. Then we go out into the court without stretching. And then what happens?
Yep.
That we cannot resist that force that's placed upon these tendons, and then they tear.
Yep.
And then
that's a great point too. So the older we get, and I think you hit the nail on the head, kind of that 30-year-old mark means that we should be spending more time warming up and exposing that tissue to some suboptimal stress before we get into, high intensity sport or activity. So I fear the same thing because I'm in that age range where if I don't warm up and my tendons maybe have been stressed or fatigued, I'm at high risk for jumping off of a box or coming down from a rebound and, snapping things real quick. So I'm very aware of that. And that's why I tend to shy away from a pickup basketball game, if at all possible. Sometimes you just got to get out there and show them what you can still do and hit a few jumpers and, try to dunk or whatever. But I haven't dunked since high school. So I don't think that's going to happen for me at this stage.
Right. Well, yeah, because we have kids, right? So we might just like, okay, I'll go play. I'll go do this. I'll go run, sprint. Then you're like, ooh, I feel a little tired, I feel a little sore, but I still try to play basketball a couple times a week. And I'm like the guy, like I'm getting there late. Like I'm getting there earlier, but I'm warming up for at least 15 minutes every time because I'm not going out there and tearing something. I don't have time to rehab. I don't want to go through that mess ever again. So they're like, hey, come out. I'm like, no, guys, like I'm old. I'm like 33. I gotta warm up. And I just know the consequences. I feel it, and I don't want something drastic or scary to happen. I'm terrified of an Achilles rupture. Just terrified of it.
Oh, same with me. Yeah, but
just put me down if that happens. Seriously.
Chop my leg off
and
I'm done with it. But one other thing I wanted to comment about type 3. So it's more of a marketing claim, and I say that with a little bit of grain of salt because there may be research that comes out in the future, and we see that there is some clinical benefit. Right now, nobody's done that research. The other thing to note is that with type 3 and anything beyond that, we really just, we see that those types of connective tissues, those types of collagens in the body are really designed to connect other tissues together. And so if we look at where type 3 is, we have some type 3 behind our eye. We have type 3 that connects our inner organs and helps space out other tissues and align things. We have type 3 that surrounds type 1 and connects our tendons to our fascia. But those, once again, the design it's reticular-like. It's not made to endure high amounts of stress. And so, if we look at, do we really need to supplement with those types, due to lack of research and where they're located in the body? I just haven't seen any, once again, clinical benefit. I haven't seen a research or reasons why beyond just the more is better reasoning. And we really don't know if more is better. We know that type 1 and type 2 has clinical benefit because there's research to back that up. There's human research, there's animal research, there's cell research. But type 3, there are none of those things that have been done yet. So maybe someone should do that.
Sure. Well, doesn't type 1 and 3 kind of go together because they both kind of stimulate some of the same areas, but just type 3 to a lesser extent? And but also, when I go to the grocery store, I see some other brands. I'm not going to say names, but I'll see marketing claims for types 1. They usually skip 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, right? And I tell doctors this all the time, like, well, do you know if your patients need more, collagen elasticity around their duodenum? Do you know if they need more collagen elasticity around this organ or around this,
Maybe they took a seminar and they figured out that they actually do. So
maybe if they did,
maybe you need to be educated.
Right. I don't think it's wrong to take. I don't think taking 3 is bad.
Right.
But yeah, I think there's a lot of the supplements. There's a lot more marketing than science.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. So I mean, that's the kind of the gray area in our industry is that you have to do your homework. You have to understand, what physiologically was the purpose of that that product or the potential of that, and then just think through the application a little bit too, because it's easy to be kind of lulled into the new shiny penny effect. Anything that's new on the market or trendy on the market sometimes gets our focus or our attention, and we just pick it up and we run with it, but we don't really study it. We don't really take a look at the research and dive into it. And that's really our job as clinicians, is to offer our patients the best. And we owe it to them, if they're going to be coming to us for the best product, to really do our homework and make sure that we're offering the best product, not just the trendiest, newest, shiny penny, because that's going to come and go. And then they're going to kind of scratch their head and say, now, wait a second, why should I take this one instead of that one? Is this just something that now I can go pick up at Costco? And, why did I have to pay more for it in your office type of thing? So, yeah.
Right, exactly. And
don't you know